My name is Monique Apter. I am the Chief Revenue Officer for Ocado Intelligent Automation. Ocado has been around for more than 25 years and is a unique organization in that our roots are in e-commerce for grocery in the UK, where we have our own operations, so we are operators. Then we also have a portfolio of solutions that we have others leverage in their operations in order to improve productivity. And so we kind of understand people's pains, and we develop solutions to address those. One of those solutions is our AMR platform, which is really what we're going to focus on today, just talking about. It's a mobile robot with orchestration software and, of course, AI. I'd like to think that we were doing AI before it became so popular. We are going to talk through with one of our customers, distribution management, and talk about how they implemented AMRs in their, I'm getting a little bit of an echo, apologies, AMRs in their operation. In terms of my background, I've been in the industry for more than 25 years. I have seen a lot of really exciting things, and it's just really great to see all of the solutions that have come on to try to help address industry challenges. With that, I will turn it over to you, Rick, to introduce yourself.
Good morning, and thanks for having me, Monique. As Monique said, my name is Rick Goe, and I often tell people that I started my journey in supply chain and logistics some 17 and a half years ago as a young person, working with SP Richards Company and US Office Products. From there, I moved on to America Online, got out of that industry, and thought I had found a home until I joined distribution management almost 23 years ago. So we, as Monique said, we are early adopters of the AMR, and I guess that's why we're here. You do have to forgive me. I'm fighting a cold, so bear with me, okay?
No problem. I made him come this morning, despite the cold. So I'm thinking about it just now. Between the two of us, we have over 50 years of some pretty deep supply chain scar tissue. Before we get started and talk a little bit about the journey that Rick went through in adopting AMRs, I wanted to just sort of root us in the different challenges that we still see the industry facing. Certainly customer expectations continue to increase, and so too, therefore, does operational complexity. And then one that surprises me after all this time is labor shortages. It's ironic for me because I've been in the industry a long time, bringing automation solutions, robotic solutions, and I think my whole career I've heard that robots are going to take people's jobs, and that just hasn't borne out. We're still really struggling. It turns out the robots showed up, and we still don't have enough people to tell them where to go. Right? So the challenge really wasn't in robots taking people's jobs, but it was really in being able to fill the open positions that there were to begin with. The second is returns. I've seen this more in the last 10 to 15 years become increasingly an issue. Real challenge with inventory complexity, and frankly, it just means that your operations aren't just shipping boxes like we should be, but processing regret on top of it. And then last is demand volatility continues to be a challenge. And for many organizations, AMR technology has really helped address a lot of these challenges, which is probably a good time for me to segue over to you, and you can talk a little bit about whether DM had some of these challenges and how AMR maybe addressed them in your world.
Sure. So first, let me tell you a little bit about distribution management, who we are and where we came from. So the company itself is about 54 years old. We were founded in St. Louis, Missouri by our late chairman, Tom Fleming. Tom began his journey as a typewriter salesperson with Lexmark, or back then IBM. He then decided he could make more money selling print ribbons. So he sold print ribbons throughout downtown St. Louis, as well as copy paper, and that's how we got our start. As evolution would have it, we ended up we evolved into ink and toner, as well as the hardware that the ink and toner consumables go into. So fast forward 54 years, we decided that we would I guess it was back in 2012, we decided to get into third-party fulfillment, which was a great decision for us. We decided we'd use our infrastructure and the network that we built to diversify what we were doing. So at that point in time, we landed our first third-party fulfillment client, and the fun began. So with all these new clients also came the proliferation of new SKUs. And our history was that we built 4 distribution centers. We had centerline conveyors going down through the center, and we picked from zone to zone. As we had the proliferation of SKUs, our employees began to walk further and further and further away from the belt. In fact, in some cases, we had people wearing gauges that show that they would work in 10 to 15 miles a day. Obviously, that created inefficiencies, really impacted our productivity, and most importantly, it impacted the employee morale. So as we started looking at what's going to take us to the next level, how can we scale this business and drive some efficiency within the organization, in 2017, we started looking at what are the technologies out there that we aren't using today. And we looked at voice, we looked at pick to light, we looked at several different solutions, ultimately finding our way to AMRs. At that point in time, we started interviewing several companies. Some are still in existence, some didn't make it. And we were introduced to Ocado. Ocado came in, and not to give a sales pitch, but they came in and they really tried to understand our business. They dug into the data with us. They helped us as we were designing our new facilities, because we were up against lease expiration dates in 3 out of the 4 distribution centers. We asked them to help us. We knew this was the route we wanted to take, and as we designed these facilities, we got their input. How would the chucks work in that environment? So as we looked at the chucks and Ocado's solution, there were a lot of solutions out there, but we chose them. Number one, we love the footprint of the chuck. We love the movement of the chuck, and for our product mix of ink and toner, primarily with apparel and nutraceuticals and electronics, that footprint worked very, very well for us. So fast forward, we moved into, and for us, when we made the decision to go with Ocado, we were all in. So we signed 3 leases, designed the 3 facilities, and in 2019, we deployed our first site in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Went very smooth from Ocado distribution management standpoint. We were up and running on the date that we said we were going to be operating. And then as we worked out the minor kinks, we went live in our Dallas facility in March of 2020. And then in May of 2020, we launched our St. Louis facility. Those facilities range from 200,000 square feet all the way up to 400,000 plus square feet. We have, adopted the technology. We find that Ocado is truly a strong partner. As we went through this journey, over the course of 5 years, Ocado decided that they were going to put the Chuck 4, which we had deployed, to end of life. So prior to just signing new deals, we actually went out and surveyed the market. We looked at some of the current AMRs that were out there. We went as far as piloting one of their competitors. And while it went fine, we made the decision that the partnership was to a point that we didn't need to go any further. So today we operate 141 chucks in the 4 distribution centers. Our fifth distribution center is a cross-dock, international cross-dock facility we haven't deployed or needed to deploy those. But we did it because of the scale, right? For scalability and the flexibility. Our old technology was, while it worked very well, the centerline conveyor was very, very rigid. And as we, again, brought on these new clients, it didn't allow us the flexibility to grow and expand and contract as customers came and went. So that's kind of the journey that we went through, and here we are today.
That's great. This kind of just visually brings to light everything that you just said. And really what I would say is your experience and kind of your approach is not unique. I mean, it's one that we find across our customer base, including, by the way, surveying the market, right? We, as partners, it's incumbent on us to be transparent and accountable and really earn your business year after year. And sometimes that means some difficult conversations early on to save expensive ones later. So we appreciate the partnership, and we appreciate continuing to develop with you. I think the other thing that really resonated with me, even though you were all in with Ocado, you did do a very methodical approach. And I think that's the other thing that we've found is very common, is that it's important, the customers that are successful, it's really important to pick a use case and go all in on that use case and not try to automate everything at once, right? Because automating chaos just makes faster chaos. And so I think being very intentional about your automation is really important, and I think it's part of the reason that you had so much success in doing that.
Yeah.
So that takes us, we're now 5-6 years in. Tell us a little bit about, bring us up to date where you are now. You must be pretty bored with everything running so smoothly in your operation. Not a lot for you to do.
Well, that's why I had time to come here.
That's true. Fair enough.
So, plus she did tell me that if I didn't show up even with the cold, that she was going to take one chuck out of our operation at a time. So we weren't going to have that. But for us, again, it was a very methodical approach. But what we found in our Carlisle deployment, immediately we saw a 20% reduction in employee turnover, right? We saw a 30 to 35% increase in our productivity, right? Which allowed us to grow our business, continue to grow our business. And I think what helped us during that journey was the fact that you mentioned transparency, right? We were very transparent from our executive team all the way down to our frontline associates, right? We wanted to make sure that they understood that we weren't deploying these robots necessarily to eliminate their role, but to allow us to grow our business, right? And redeploy those assets where it was necessary. So that's what we did. Fortunately for us, we've continued to grow our fulfillment business. We've continued to grow our wholesale business. And we've done so, and I can honestly say, since deploying our robots, we have not lost one single client because we weren't able to achieve the SLAs that we had promised, right? And I think that's important. As we grow our business, we actually, I was looking back as I was preparing for this, in 2015, we processed about 2,000 orders. In 2025, we processed almost 7 million orders and 16 million different units, right? While we also reduced our staffing costs by about 9% year over year. So I like to think that's due to leadership.
Sure.
But that really has to do with a lot of the technology that we've had in the partnership and the ongoing enhancements that we make, with our partner.
Great. Are there any maybe lessons learned along the way that you can share with the group?
Lessons learned. Again, if it were me and I was out in the audience and I was looking at what type of technology I wanted to deploy in my operation or operations, I think you first have to look at what is your customer service policy. And that's an old term, but what is your customer service policy? What are the SLAs you want to achieve, right? What market are you trying to support? All very important questions. At that point in time, you have to ask yourself, what does success look like? And I heard the keynote speaker this morning, one of them mentioned that we oftentimes try to look at ROI as just the dollars, right? And that's not necessarily the case. With technology moving as fast as it is, I think it's important that we look at, can we expand or extend that ROI, but have the vision to where we want to be short term as well as long term. Because I think, number one, you have to look at the technology that fits your business today as well as what will fit 3-5 years from now. I've seen a lot of companies that have over-invested and put themselves out of business. So the first thing is, what do you want your business to look like, and how do you want to support that, right? And what does success look like? Is it scalable? That's probably the second biggest attribute that we look at as we went through our exercise. And then last but not least, I think you have to look at choosing the right partner. There's a lot of people out there a lot of companies out there that are startups, whatever the case may be. For us, we met a lot of friends that are no longer in that industry during our time of due diligence. And so, is that partner sustainable? Do they understand your business? And do they want to take that journey with you? I think it's very, very important.
Great. Thank you for sharing. There's a lot of really good insights there. I guess I'll close by just sharing how we try to partner with customers that are going through similar journeys. And we really look to deploy, we look to deploy with principles that we kind of get from our partners. With what their process looks like, we try to align something similar. So we work with the customer to identify what the problem is. As you said, framing the project outcomes. What is the success criteria you're looking for? How are you measuring that? And then really proving some solutions, getting some early wins and proving out the solutions early, but also scaling deliberately and methodically, as we talked about, doing it with intention. I can't tell you how many customers we've had, because we have a broad portfolio of solutions. So we've had customers, for instance, come to us and they're ready to implement an ASRS system. And when we go through the first parts of identifying the problem and what they're really trying to solve, oftentimes it's turned out that they don't need that level of investment at this stage. And so to your point of, you've seen companies overinvest too early, it's really important to pick the use case and get a win and then scale intentionally. And so we're fortunate that we can meet customers kind of wherever they are along their journey, and so we can be honest about them not needing such a capital intensive solution if their volumes don't necessitate it, and instead they can do something like an AMR technology. And then of course we try to be a trusted partner. We are very transparent. We get that customers are making big bets on automation, and it only works if we all win together. So we really dive in and try to do the right thing by our partners and by our customers, and make sure that we're going to get some wins so that we all feel good about that. I think that takes us to the end of our presentation. I would be remiss if I didn't, I would say that my team will kill me actually, if I don't invite you to come to our booth, talk about your use case, come see our technology live. We are at booth 164, and we would love to meet with you.